vivir. En afrenta y oprobio sumido, del clarín escuchar el sonido, a las almas valientes corren.
Good evening. Honorable Dr. Kenneth Darrow, Minister of Foreign Affairs, International Business and Diaspora Relations of the Commonwealth of Dominica. Excellence Ulises Aram Fernandez, Ambassador of the Republic of Cuba, and his wife Miriam Martin Posada, Consul of the Republic of Cuba. Excellence Jose Durabi Moros, Ambassador of the Bolivarian of Venezuela, and His Excellent Lin Xianjian, Ambassador of the Republic of China. Claudio Lestrade, of behalf of Executive of Dominica Cuban Friendship Association. Dr. Francisco Sanchez, Chief of the Cuban Permanent Brigade of the Health Collaborator, member of the Cuban Permanent Brigade of the Health Collaborator, member of the Dominican Cuban Friendship Association, and member of the meetings. The assault on the Moncada barracks in Cuba was part of the armed action carried out July 26, 1953, led by a group of young people and with the figure of Fidel Castro Ruz in command, with the aim of overthrowing the dictator Fulgencio Batista. Today, we commemorate the 69th anniversary of the assault on the Moncada barracks. A feat represents a decisive milestone of our people for their full liberation. The tactical setback suffered did not modify the historical result, but gave way to a stage of army struggle that opened the way to the triumph of the revolution. History proved us right. It made us ascend to the higher stage. Today emanates the effort, the sacrifice, and the determination that we do not give up. We will not let ourselves be defeated. Freedom with our homeland and our revolution. Long live with the Cuban Revolution. And long live with the friendly relationship between the people of Cuba and other countries of the world. Now, we congratulate with the presence of the doctor of the Lestrade Charles, member of the Dominica Cuban Friendship Association.
Thank you, Ms. Urenis. Buenas noches a todos.
Buenas noches.
I want to recognize the presence of the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Business, Honorable Dr. Kenny Vidaro. I want to recognize the Excellencies Ambassador of Venezuela and China. Welcome. I also want to recognize the honorable presence of the Ambassador of Cuba. Bienvenido y muchas gracias por tenernos. I want to recognize the presence of all the Cuban collaborators here, nurses, doctors, and professionals. I want to recognize the media, my colleagues from the Dominican Cuban Friendship Association, and everybody else I missed out. Welcome. It is a pleasure for us as an association to share our words of comfort and support to the efforts of our late, may his soul rest in peace, Fidel Castro Ruz, who saw it important at the time to not only give life but sacrifice the effort and the hard sweat. For some of us who are here today, myself being a beneficiary of that effort, and many of us from the association, and my colleague, the Honorable Minister, can accede to this, that it was because of the effort of Fidel and many others, some of those who lose their life, some of those who continued the mission of the revolution, that we're here today, and for this we're very grateful. I want to say that as an association, we have seen the efforts of Cuba over the years. The revolution has not stopped and will not stop, because with people like us and those who are benefiting from the revolution will continue. As the Cubans say, viva la revolution. And viva means that the revolution will last forever. So I want, on behalf of the association, to say that we pledge our support, we pledge our efforts, we continue to support the cause of Cuba on the international stage, and long live the Cuban Revolution. Hasta la victoria siempre.
Words of the Honorable Dr. Kenedal, Minister of Foreign Affairs, International Business and Diaspora Relations of the Commonwealth of Dominica.
Good night, everyone. We have here, of course, recognize the presence of our dear friends, of course, Mr. Congress and our gracious host. Thank you for inviting us, myself and everybody else. The Ambassador of the Republic of Cuba to the Commonwealth of Dominica, of course my other brother, the Ambassador of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela to the Commonwealth of Dominica, and last but certainly not least, my older brother, Ambassador of the Republic of China, the Republic of China to the Commonwealth of Dominica, your staff, the Jefe and other members of the Cuban mission, the medical mission in Dominica, my colleagues, and of course good friend and brother, Mr. Claudius Lester, executive member of the Dominican Cuba Friendship Association, of course all other members. Mr. Ambassador, thank you for inviting me here today. And although it has been a busy day, a busy week for us, we're currently in budget debate, budget discussions. But I could not miss the opportunity to be here tonight for a number of reasons, already so eloquently expressed by my brother Mr. Lester. The 26th of July, or como se dice en Cuba, el 26 de julio, the julio is a very, very important day, not only to the Cubans, but to people like myself. As again, as stated by my brother Mr. Lester, we are the proud beneficiaries of the results of the sacrifices that were the 26th of July 1963, that's 47 and 21, 69 years ago. And the 26th of July, I think, has a number of significant meanings, and I think lessons to be learned. And I think it was in the small introductory remark where she mentioned that although the assault or the attack on the Cuartel de Moncada was not successful, but what it did, it started this movement. It started this movement which saw success, I think, some 6 years later. And then I'm very young, I think Fidel Castro, when he launched his very first attack in, I think, 1953. And I think he was in prison for 5 years. After 2 years, he was released. went to Mexico, came back on the ground with some other compatriots. And even then, when he returned, this was still not successful. Recall, they were betrayed by the Cubans themselves. And out of the 80-something soldiers and compatriots which came on the ground, were just 20-somebody, I think 22 or so survived. And it was this handful of survivors who went to the mountains, and from there began this big movement towards eventual victory in 1959. So this is a lesson to all of us that we should never give up, especially when we know that we're on the right side of history, when we know that what we're fighting for is we're fighting for justice and we're fighting for peace, which is why on behalf of the government of Dominica, and in my capacity as a minister, I will say to you, as I've said many times before, that the government of the Commonwealth of Dominica will continue to speak out for Cuba at every opportunity that we get, and we will continue to ask for the removal, the lifting of this, I think, cruel and unjust embargo on the government and people of Cuba. An embargo they have suffered for more than 60 years, probably valuing at well within the trillions of dollars. We will continue to ask for the removal of Cuba as a state-sponsored terrorist state. We'll continue to ask for all of these harsh and I think unjust measures that have been leveled or meted against the Cuban population. So, Mr. Ambassador, I know tonight is a little festive night and I'm not going to wait very long. We'd just like to say to you that for as long as this administration remains at the reins of or the helm, and we're going to be there for a very long time, rest assured, yes. That we will continue to give our support to the Cuban people, to the Cuban government, as long as we did, and you yourself you witnessed at the just recently 9th Summit of the Americas, where not just Dominica, but a number of countries, both in the Caribbean and Latin America, where they voiced. So although Cuba was absent, unjustly so, not invited to the meeting, Cuba's voice was present very strongly at this 9th Summit of the Americas recently concluded in Los Angeles. So you do have the support of a number of countries across the world, because people have recognized the humanitarian efforts, which also was highlighted by my friend Mr. Lester of Cuba. I've said it before, and I will say it again, that a number of the young professionals, and not so young like myself, are what they are today because of the Cuban Revolution, because of 26th of July, the movement we started back then. So from myself personally to you, I want to congratulate you on the celebration of the 26th of 26 de Julio. And of course, on behalf of the government and people of Dominica, wish you all the success. And I'm really hoping that in our lifetime, that pretty soon that we will live to see the removal or the lifting of all of these unjust measures against the people of Cuba, and that Cuba will be given an opportunity to thrive like the jewel of the Caribbean that it is. Thank you very much.
After the work of the Honorable Dr. Kennedy, coming with us our Ambassador Ulysses Fernandez.
I would like to recognize the present here, our friends, good friends, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, International Business. Just for alliteration, the Honorable Dr. Kenneth Rose. It was a day very busy for you. I know that he was in the meeting of the House of the Assembly. And even that, he is present with us here. Thank you very much for attending our invitation. I would like to recognize also the presence of our friends, the Ambassador of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, Jose Dorayo Moro, and also our good friend of the Republic of China. Besides, I would like to recognize, of course, the presence here of the different members of the Dominican Cuban Friendship Association, who has made a lot of activity this year, support the battle of our country against the blockade of the government of the United States against the people of Cuba, and also another activity. And of course, our comrade, the collaborator of her, who always been with us in all the activities that the embassy made. Today, I appreciate the presence of the medium. Very, very important for us, because it's the way that we have to transfer the real situation of Cuba and to set what happened reality in our country. Today, we commemorate the 69th anniversary of the assault of the Moncada and Carlos Manuel de Céspedes Berrés, and a military action carried out by a group of young Cubans led by Fidel Castro Cruz, who intended to take over the two main military barracks in the east of the country and summon a popular insurrection to overthrow the dictatorship of Fulgencio Batista. In the 1915s, the Cuban politicians in power and US imperialism had eliminated freedoms and human rights in Cuba. That was one of the countries most subjected to the political and economic domination of the USA. At that time, in Cuba fields, more than half of the best land was in the hands of foreign companies, mainly the United Fruit Company and the West Indian. 65% of land used for the sugar industry was won by North American monopolies. However, 88% of small Cuban farmers paid rent, and they constantly took away their land. A third of public services were controlled by American investment. In a population of 5.5 million inhabitants, more than 600,000 Cubans were unemployed, including 10,000 teachers, when 54.1% of the population did not have a school, and a quarter of Cubans were illiterate. The infant mortality rate was more than 70 per thousand live births. There was misery, racial discrimination, and a moral crisis. In 1952, the Cuban People's Party, Orthodox, the largest opposition party, won the elections. The party was a reformist political movement that had the support of the people, which constituted a danger to the neocolonial system. The 1952 coup, led by Fulgencio Batista, took away that electoral victory and established a bloody tyranny against the people for 7 years. The Popular Party of Cuba has been neutralized. The left wing of that party was headed by the young Fidel Castro Cruz. With the elections taken away from the party, it was necessary a movement to overthrow the tyranny. But the problem was in the way it was done. On those days, the FBI had grown the power and had emerged the CIA. Between 1952 and 1955, 7 Latin American governments were overthrown as part of the imperialist strategy to consolidate its power. Precisely along these lines, on March 20, 1952, a coup took place in Cuba. In that situation, there could be no powerful solution to the national problem with the Batistas in power. A stage of armed struggle began that would not stop until the tyranny was overthrown. On July 26, 1953, the armed struggle of the Cuban people continued, which began in 1868 césped and was continued by an exceptional Cuban whose centenary was commemorated in 1953, José Martí. The ideas of José Martí were vindicated by the assailants of the Moncada and Carlos Manuel de Céspedes Berreyes. Fidel, in his historic defense during the trial against the assailants, known as his history will absolve me, denounced the country's problem and announcing a program of measures to solve them upon assuming power. After the Moncada and the prison will come the grandma, the struggle of the Sierra Maestra and the triumph of January 1959, with which the first law of popular support were issued, such as the agrarian and urban reform, the conversion of Berres into a school, the nationalization of North American companies and monopolies, which for the first time allowed the Cuban people to be the master of their political and economic destiny. In the first years of the triumph of the Cuban Revolution, the Moncada program was fulfilled. The ills of Cuba before 1959 were eradicated and a path of independence and sovereign development began, based on a social security system for all and placing the human being at the center and as a fundamental factor. And that is why the US government does not forgive the people of Cuba, which develops an independent process with full national sovereignty and radically transforming to the socio-economic structure of the country for the good of the people. For this reason, the economic, commercial, and financial blockade of the United States government began shortly after the triumph of the Cuban Revolution and has been increasing through all these years with new laws and measures, trying to defeat the Cuban Revolution and that our country cannot have sustained economic and social development. Glory to the martyrs of the attack of the Moncada and Carlos Manuel de Céspedes Berreyes. Long life the friendship between Cuba and Dominica. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you everybody to stay here with us. And we say thank you again. And we invite you for the activity, recreational activity now by the swimming pool. And thank you again.
No queremos que pase eso tampoco. Eso sería muy feo para los países.
A pleasant good night to everyone. This has been the Dominican Cuba Friendship Association Cuban National Rebellion Day ceremony. We would like to thank you for joining us live at this event. This live has been brought to you compliments Emonews. This event commemorates the 69th anniversary of the Cuban National Rebellion.
Thank you.
As we come to a close of this event, we would like to thank you for joining us and we would like to wish you a pleasant evening.
You going to stay a bit, huh? No. You're living? Yeah, of course. Sí, yo lo sé.